The new Silent Spring 2.0, created by Lilian L. Carrasquillo for EVSP498, Senior Seminar in Environmental Science at American Military University. The overview of Silent Spring 2.0 includes the history behind author Rachel Carson, awareness in pesticide use, the ban of DDT, and how the EPA became involved. Also, we will discuss Carson's greatest fans and critics, not to mention environmental sustainability after Carson's death, and a few endnotes are most important. The Woman, the Mission. Rachel Carson was better known as the mother of environmental movements, the originator of ecological concerns, and eco-warrior. Despite many disapprovals and antagonisms, Silent Spring sparked a movement that led to meaningful modifications. Carson made it known that pesticides were the #1 reason of destruction of life, damage to water, soil, and vegetation, calling them the preparations of death. The history behind the purpose. When Silent Spring was last published in book form on September 27, 1962, the chemical industry went wild. President Kennedy instantly became public enemy #1 for supporting Silent Spring. The National Agricultural Chemicals Association called it a publicity advertisement. A silent timeline. 1963 was a big year for Carson, as she testified before the United States Congress about the dangers of pollution. The use of pesticides report was also released that year and made public. In 1964, changes in the law were made which mandated businesses to prove something did not cause harm before they could sell it. In 1970, the U.S. EPA was created by Nixon in response to the growing demand of cleaner water, air, and land. And finally, in 1972, activists pushed for and won the ban of DDT pesticides. Silent Spring influenced the environmental movement and brought forward major environmental concerns to the American public. Carson was considered a legacy of conservation and sustainability, while others considered her a mass murderer after pushing the DDT prohibition. Little did they know, eliminating pesticides and banning DDT completely helped human life and environmental health. Pesticides are still used today for protection of crops, insects, weeds, and fungi growth. This is considered safe pest control. The continued use of pesticides is to help in eliminating the health problems often caused by pests. For example, mosquitoes, ticks, and rodents are major carriers of disease such as vector-borne and the avian flu. Rachel Carson believed in her book. She wanted to let the public know the facts about pesticides and hoped it would eventually lead to more stricter environmental laws. Even though pesticides still exist, as Carson knew they would, she enforces pesticides should not be eliminated entirely, but used appropriately. So many thanks to the critics who put her down and misrepresented her claims. She knew people would eventually discredit her writings, but this did not stop her. Big thank you to President Kennedy, who had faith in Carson's movement and pushed many factors in making the DDT ban possible. Lastly, thank you, US EPA. Although you are oftentimes difficult to convince, you keep regulations constant, the people healthy, and the environment well. The Toxic Substances Control Act of 1976 was Silent Spring's greatest legal justification. It directed the EPA to protect the public from unreasonable risk of injury to health or the environment. Under its authority, the EPA acted to ban or severely restrict all 6 compounds indicated in Silent Spring and assumed responsibility for testing new chemicals. Rachel Carson's writings have influenced environmental laws continuously and communicates how important it is to keep connected with nature. If Carson were alive today, she would see her premonitions come to life and would continue to fight for what she believes in, and that is sustainability of human life and Earth for always.